everyone can wear the mask. Even you can wear the mask. If you didn't know that before, I hope you do now. Hey everyone, and welcome to June's TBR Assemble. If you don't know what this is, I'll leave a link up above to my original video where I do all of the explanation, but essentially this is my Avengers-based TBR game, and I'm also going to be doing 2 readathons this month. The first one is the Clear Your Readathon, as well as the For the Culture Readathon, so let's get into these roles and see exactly how I'm going to be fulfilling all of those prompts. And before I forget as well, let's get into the Gwen prompt as well. So this month we've decided to visit Miles, because this month is the month of Across the Spider-Verse, which means obviously I'm going to be visiting Miles in the Marvel Universe, and that means I need to read a book with a school setting, so I'm going to see how I can fit that in as well. So today we have 2 counters. We have Spider-Gwen and then also Nick Fury, because it is the month of Secret Invasion as well as Across the Spider-Verse, and we are going to start with Gwen actually, because I do not have a Miles Morales and I really wish I did, but I currently don't, and also because Across the Spider-Verse comes out first, hence why we're using Gwen, and we're going to be starting on 69, which is where we were before, and I'm kind of hoping I can get up to the A, so we'll see how this works, but I'm hoping we get to the A this time. I'm hoping for some more fantasy this month as well, because I really did not have enough fantasy on the last TBR, so let's go for roll number 1, and that is a 6. That is a good start for getting all the way up here. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Absolute perfection. Power Stone. Fantasy. Exactly what I want. Let's see. That was a terrible fan. There we go. Now I can see that a little bit better. And I'm going to go over here. That is, I went for the head. A book over 500 pages. You ever regret your life choices? Because I've suddenly regretted everything. But okay then. Book over 500 pages. My first prompt was that I went for the head, which is a book over 500 pages, because of course it was. I wanted small books this month. Apparently not. And then I also decided to go for the longest book on my TBR, or one of the longest, and go for Queen of Air and Darkness. Now, what I'm going to be doing is listening to this as an audiobook instead of reading it physically, despite the fact that I own the physical book, simply because this book is all about grief and things like this because of what happened in the previous book that I can't talk about, because even though this book is old, I do count that still as a spoiler, so can't really tell you what happens, but there's going to be a lot of grief and dealing with grief and things like this, which I do not want to read physically. So what I'm going to be doing instead is listening to this via audiobook and doing it in sort of like small 20-minute chunks and slowly working my way through that way, because that feels like the best way to do this. And it is also going to be covering a couple of prompts as well. It's covering gold, silver or bronze on the cover, as well as the book I've been putting off prompt. Roll number 2 is a 5. We are definitely going to be hitting the A unless I keep on rolling 1s after this. I should not tempt fate. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is another fantasy. I can take more fantasy. That's fine. I'm going to go this side this time and see if it's any luckier. Roadie, continue a series. That is definitely luckier. Definitely luckier. My next prompt was Roadie, which is to continue a series, so I'm going for The Battle Drum by Sarah L. Arifi. This is the sequel to The Final Strife, which I read back in like February, I think it was. I read it earlier this year, either way, and this one is a sort of political fantasy type thing where we're in a world where there is a very rigid hierarchy caste system, and the people at the bottom are treated worse than slaves, essentially, and the people on the bottom rungs are trying to overthrow the government and trying to make things better for everybody. I really enjoyed the first one, so I'm really excited to read this sequel. And this is also going to be counted for the prompt of the most recent book added to my TBR, because this literally arrived this morning at time of filming, so it could not be any fresher to my TBR. Roll number 3 is a 1, so that is 1 Own Voices, because it's the Mind Stone, and I'm going to go into this little clump here and pick out this one, Matt Murdock, A Deceptive Cover. That'll be fun to find. So to go through my shelves for this one. Come on, give me a 4 or a 5 or a 6. Come on, for the 4th roll. Okay, 5. Yes, thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have reached the top. We have reached the A, people. Yay! And then I reached the A and it gave me the prompt of Matt Murdock, a deceptive cover, because Matt is a lawyer by day and Daredevil by night, and no one expects him to be Daredevil because he's a lawyer, he's law-abiding and all the rest of it, but he's actually the vigilante Daredevil. And for that I've gone for Nura and the Immortal Palace by M.T. Khan, and I've decided that this is a deceptive cover because you've got this bit and then there is an inner cover as well. Underneath it says, welcome to the world of magic, splendour and trickery, welcome to the world of the Jinn. So that's why I'm counting it for that, and this is all about Nura, who has worked all of her life in the mica mines, trying to find the legendary buried treasure, the Demon's Tongue, and then when a terrible accident traps her best friend Faisal underground, she is determined to save him, and crosses over into the magical and treacherous realm of the Jinn, which just sounds like so much fun. It is a middle grade, so it's quite short, the writing is quite big as well, which is going to be really useful in amongst everything else I want to read this month. And yeah, it's counting for that. Is it counting for anything else according to my notes? No, it's just counting for that, but that's fine. Either way, very excited to read it. And then that would be the end of my TBR, but I have read-alongs to do as well as a load of comics, and I've also got to cover a couple of other prompts. So, the first thing I've got is A Dark Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is obviously like part of the Dark Shade of Magic read-along, which is happening in time for Threads of Power to release in September, and we're following Kel and his very peculiar coat as he travels between the 4 Londons and gets involved in all sorts of things, and I'm so excited to reread this. I'm so ridiculously excited to reread this. I love this world. I've been recently rereading the prequel comics and loving being back in the world again, so I'm really excited to read a full-length novel in here. I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to be back with Rye and Kel and Lila and Alucard and Holland and everybody, and just be back in the world of the Londons again. I'm so excited. I'm ridiculously excited. And it's also counting for 2 prompts. The first one is a book by an author I've read before. Obviously this is a reread for me, so I'm definitely, obviously, like, I've definitely read this author before. Also, V. Schwab's one of my favourite authors, and I've read everything she's published, or at least a good 90% of it. And it's also counting for a book that will make me feel good, because I just know this is going to make me feel good, because I'm going to be back in the world of Kel and Lila and everybody and the Londons all over again, which I'm just ridiculously excited about. For my school setting, I am going for The Marvellous by Donnie L. Clayton. This is a series, or the start of a series, about a magical school, essentially. I cannot remember for the life of me any further than that, but it's fine. I like going into things quite often without much knowledge about what it's going to be about, further than the basic premise, and that's all I remember at the moment. And I'm also counting it for a book bought because of a friend, because I've heard so many people raving about The Marvellous, so I really wanted to check it out. And then the final book I have that is not a comic is the novella The Scourge Between Stars by Ness Brown, and this one is all about a doomed ship. Is a sci-fi horror thing where there is a intruder within this doomed ship's walls, and they're trying to figure out what's going on there. And I don't really know much else about this. I just know that it's the group book for the Culture Readathon, and it is covering the prompts of Monica Rambeau, Hancock, Fastos, Makari, Cyborg and Valkyrie. And then for the Clear Your Readathon, there is a prompt of randomly select a book from my TBR, so what better way to do that than with the TBR jar. So I'm gonna dig through and see what I can grab. I'm gonna go for this green one here, and that is Bitterroot by David F. Walker. Okay, I've already read that, so I can take that out. Trying again. Let's see. I thought I'd gotten rid of all the ones I'd already read, so we'll see what this one is. Fables by Bill Willingham. Again, I've read that. I think I've caught up with everything I own on that one, so I can't do that one either. This is going well. Let's go down. Let's see what this one is, please. St. Mary's by Jodie Taylor. Okay, I can actually do that because I've read the first one in this series, not the sequel. So I will be reading the sequel to The Chronicles of St. Mary's. This one is all about what is known as the disaster magnets of St. Mary's. They are historians who can travel in time, and what they're doing is basically investigating. They're not interfering or anything else because history gets in the way, but it's a very, very funny series. It reminds me a lot of Derek Landy, things like this, with how it's set out and the humour in it and everything. I really enjoyed the first one, so I'm really excited to continue on, so that'll be what I'm reading as well, so good to know. Then let's get into the comics, because there's a few of them. I'm going to start with my Spider-Verse stuff because that's going to be the easiest way to do this. I'm going to just tell you the characters that I'm reading because there's a lot of them, and leave the covers here because I think that's going to be the easiest way to do this. The first one is Miles Morales, obviously, so that is the Saladin Ahmed stuff as well as the Brian Michael Bendis stuff. I've also got Spider-Gwen, who I will be reading the Shauna Maguire stuff of. There's also Spider-Man 2099. He is one from the future. He's definitely going to be in it. He's voiced by Oscar Isaac. There's also Spider-Woman as well. Anybody else who turns up, I'll be trying to read a couple of things from them as well. There's also Spider-Geddon, which is the actual big thing I'm definitely reading because that is about all of these spider people coming together to essentially fight people who are trying to cannibalize and eat the spider people. So they're all having to team up together to try and stop that. So definitely reading that as well, even if it's got nothing to do with the actual plot of Across the Spider-Verse. I just know I want to read that because it's all about the spider people teaming up, so I'm going to be reading all of that, as well as maybe Spider-Punk if I can find some on Marvel Unlimited, and anybody else I can get my hands on. Anybody else I can get my hands on, any team up between spider people, it will be happening this month, so expect a very long vlog for that. Outside of that, I will also be reading Secret Invasion by Brian Michael Bendis. This is following the idea that the Skrulls, who are the shapeshifters of the Marvel Universe, having infiltrated the Avengers and all other warps of like heroes, villains, like places of power, all the rest of it, and that discovery and how that goes down afterwards, which is obviously the basis for the Secret Invasion TV show. Very, very excited to watch that, so very excited to read this. I'm also going to try and read Nimona if the library hold comes in. This is a graphic novel, and I think it's from a villain point of view. Either way, I know the film is coming out on Netflix at the end of the month, so I want to give it a go if my library hold comes in on time. And then finally, I also have my Witcher comics. I may try and read just one of them, maybe two of them, I don't know, because the second half of the series comes out in July, but the first half is out in June, and I like to obviously match my reading with what I'm watching. So there's no better time to read The Witcher than when The Witcher is airing, so I may also try and read some of that as well. And that is my TBR. I mean, this doesn't look too bad, but when you add everything else, including all the comics on here, it is backbreaking, so I'm a little bit worried, but if I don't count the comics, it works out at about 89 pages a day, and to be fair, I've calculated that by removing the days I know I'll be reading comics, so that's not too bad. I'm hoping this is going to work out, and I'm going to read all of this, but who knows. Either way, we'll give it a go. And I mean, there is a new McFly album also out this month, so I'm going to be a little busy fangirling over that as well, so who knows, I'm going to at least attempt it, and at the very least I'll have some fun trying. And that's where I'm going to leave this video, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up, comment down below, tell me what I should read first, I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a spider emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all of my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which is going to be filled with all things Spider-Verse. If you're interested in that, as well as Secret Invasion and my recommendations for that, and like explainers, all the rest of it, it will all be linked down below so you can check it out as the weeks go on throughout the month of June. I'll also leave a link as well down below to my Etsy store that sells bookish merch if you're interested in that, or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!